Hey everybody, as I mentioned in the previous video, in this one you're going to install everything we're going to use, and thankfully for you guys, as I mentioned, I have written Ansible scripts that will install everything for you. All you have to do is type in a server name, an email address, email password, and it'll do the rest for you. So I'll put the link to this GitHub repository in the description. You want to go here, click on the green code button, and then right click on download zip and copy that address. Excuse me. Because we need to download it inside your terminal. So I'm going to do this one on Windows because this is a little different on Windows, and there's a couple of gotchas. So we'll make sure that the Windows users get this. On a Mac, it's really easy. So after you've opened up your Windows Linux subsystem terminal on Windows, we want to wget and then right click to paste that copied link. It will download it. Unzip is not installed by default, so you want to sudo apt install unzip. Type in your password. After you've installed unzip, you should have SSH already installed from before. If you watched the previous video. If you don't, do that because that's how you need to connect to your server. In my case, I set up the name of my server as Sandbox. So I type in SSH Sandbox to connect. That matters because you're going to need whatever you type to connect here in a minute. So after you've downloaded the zip file, unzip master.zip, it will create server install -master. So we want to change directory cd server install -master. And as the instructions say, how do I use it? Right here. sh server install. First thing it wants to know is your SSH address. Again, this is what you type to log in. So I called mine Sandbox. That's what you type there. And then the domain name you set up in the previous video. That's what I use for my test server. An email address for the server to send you things. And as it mentions both here and in the instructions, you need an app password if you have two-factor authentication on your email. And there's a link here to the Gmail instructions, but all the different free email services offer this if you have two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is good. That's where you get a temporary code texted to you or on an app on an authenticator on your phone that makes a temporary code. But the server doesn't have your phone app or your text messages, so it can't do that. So you have to generate a one-time use password that the server can use. And so when you generate this password on any of these services, it will show you a randomly generated password one time. So copy it and don't get rid of it until you've set this up and are sure it works, because it only shows you the password once. If it doesn't work, you'll have to delete it and set up a new one. And that is the password you want to give to your setup here. This is for the server to email you update notifications, failed tasks, all sorts of things that a server might notify you of. this is for the server to use. So do that. Say yes to a firewall that will restrict traffic coming into the server to the web server and SSH only. And this will take some time. So let it go. Take a walk, make some lunch. Don't close the window. You got to leave the window open and set your computer not to go to sleep. It's got a lot of things to install, and it, as it says here, it will generate a new DHparam encryption key, which is also going to take probably quite some time on a low-end $5 a month server, assuming that's what you're using. So at this point, take a break and let this finish, and we'll pick back up when it is done. Okay, everybody, we're done. If you finished the previous step successfully, it should have finished up with all yellows and greens. If you finished up with a red, you can leave an issue on the bug report forum on the GitHub repo. Copy and paste the last few red lines of where it failed, and help you sort it out. But it should have finished, and everything should be installed. And as it says here, you have several new things here. So, first thing you want to do is go into PgAdmin, which is the database admin. And it's going to ask you, you'll see this, it's going to ask you to log in. The username is admin, and when Ansible installed all of this, the cool things about Ansible is it generated passwords for you. So those are going to be in your home folder. So let's go back to the home folder. And you see Ansible admin password, and there's some database passwords. There's a encryption key for your authentication server. And how do we get these out of here? Well, in the Windows Linux subsystem, it says, you can type explorer.exe, and that didn't take us to it, explorer.exe dot. Hey, look at that. There we go. So you want to copy all these files that begin with Ansible out to your desktop so you can save those passwords, and then you can close out of there. So explorer.exe and then a space, and a dot in Linux or Unix means the current folder. So helps if you spell it right. Yeah, that works. Okay. So open up, the admin password is the same for all of these things. Open that up, copy your admin password, log in. Once you've logged in, we need to create a database in here. There was one database in the automatic install that is not created automatically, and there's a reason for that. So back in your Linux terminal, there is in the, I'm going to go back into the server install -master folder that we installed everything from. There's a few files in here as well. Let's copy these out. Explorer.exe space dot. And we need this SQL file and these two files that begin with Postgrest. So copy those out and drop those on your desktop too. And once we've got those, let's create a database. We're going to call it API. Template 1 is fine. You can leave that as it is. So create that. And with the API database created, let's click on API, click on SQL, and the SQL file that you dragged out onto your desktop, we're going to open that with Notepad. Will be fine. We need to run these SQL statements on the database we just created to create some permissions for our API user. So just highlight all of this and copy, and it matters where you click when you're in the PHP PostgreSQL. So if we click from here, you notice we're not operating on any database, and we're on the, it'll look for a public schema, but this is going to run on no database in particular. We want to run this only on the API database. So click on API first, then click SQL. And now you see we're on database API, and we're going to be applying this to the public schema under API. That's what we want. So paste all that in and hit execute, and you should have SQL executed, and that's it. Once that's done, that's all the permissions. We can click on our public schema here to verify this and click privileges. We see web user has usage, web admin has usage. That's good. That's what we want. There's no tables here because we haven't created any yet, but that's okay. So that's what we need to do there. You may want to go and log in to the other things that you have. We also have Nodered, which I mentioned in a previous video and used to draw some diagrams. You'll get prompted to log in here too. Again, admin and password are the same. So this is running. You also have RSS-Bridge, which is a set of scraping tools which allow you to pull data from websites that might not have APIs. And we have an authentication server that's set up to work with our API already, except for a couple of things we need to do. And that is going to be at your domain /auth SRV, like auth server. So go there. It's going to prompt you to please connect with a user that has admin credentials. This little login button is the one at the upper right. Click that. Again, admin and the password are the same as the others. Click continue when you're in. And we need to modify your user here to have permission to use the authentication scheme that was automatically set up. So you can see that we have a role here, which is either web user or web admin. This corresponds to, I'm going to get back to our API database. This corresponds to these permissions here, user and admin. Since we're going to be, testing that all functionality works, we want administrator access on our admin account. So let's make our administrator web admin. So just type in web admin. And under scope, add OpenID to his scope. OpenID is the scope that's on our login server. So do that, click on OK. You should have user updated. And then under plugins here, that you should have an OAuth 2 plugin already enabled. And as you can see, OpenID is a scope that's allowed here. So that's what we need there. We could actually delete GAdmin and gprofile out of here. We don't need those. We can just leave OpenID. This is already all set up for you. Hit OK. And let's test the API real quick. We may need to restart it since we just made the database. It's probably trying behind the scenes to connect to a database that did not exist until a minute ago. But if we go /API on our browser, yep, it's working. It rebooted itself and found the database. So all these services are set to reboot every 10 seconds if they crash. So you should never find anything down unless there's something really wrong. So this is the kind of the structure of our API that you could plug into, say, swagger.io, and it'll give you a nice graphical representation of what your API looks like. Yep. And you can use tools like this to, play around, do things and whatnot. As the repo mentions, another useful tool that you'll want to get for testing database APIs is called Postman. So download Postman when you can. And yeah, I'll accept cookies. Yeah, Windows 64-bit. We'll run it when it finishes downloading. Thinking about it. And you do not have to create an account for Postman if you don't want. I'll skip signing in. I've never created an account on here. But we can import some things. So let's import these two. The files that begin in Postgrest were exported from my Postman here. And they already have everything you need to use our API. So import both of those. Import the first one. Do one more import. We'll import the other one, the environment as well. And we'll go to collections, and we can send the same request that we sent before. After we define a couple of variables. Let's pick our Postgrest environment. So pick this from the drop down. Click here, edit. Okay, first of all, you need to put your admin password in here. You can save that. And the URL is the URL to your server. Do that. Scroll down. You have to scroll down a bit to get the update. That's it. We're saved. Hit send. I think this API link needs a slash on the end. Yes, it does. I'll have to fix that. And we don't have. There we go. You can see from kind of clicking around in here, you can change parameters on a request and interface with your APIs and databases with Postman and kind of do it all in a easy to use UI. This is useful for testing things. So set this stuff up and then we'll see you in the next video. You should have everything up and running, and we're going to do some cool stuff. So thanks. See you in the next